During my Zionism and then following Holocaust curriculum with the 7th grade, I often share with them a piece of history from 1903 and even try to get them to come into the dilemma. There's a lot of pogroms going on in Russia in 1903, and there's a lot of angst. The Zionism movement is quite new. Herzl's in charge. The vision of a Jewish state, a place for Jews to be safe and to call home. The British Empire is still really much in existence, and there are Jews of influence in the leadership of the British Empire. And so there is a proposal on the table that perhaps some corner of Uganda in Africa would be a place of refuge for the Jewish people. And on the table of the Zionist Congress in 1903, should they pursue this option and at the moment abandon a return to Israel? Emotions are high, and the kids, when they get into it, they figure it out that there's a lot of different forces at play. One is the dream and wanting to return to Zion, recognizing we say the Shana Haba'ah B'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, not somewhere in Africa. And yet also the ability to perhaps create a safe haven right now to get the Jews out of harm's way is very enticing. So what actually happened, we all kind of know the answer at this point, is actually the Zionist Congress rejected the Uganda plan. Part of them probably knew that this was probably a far-fetched plan to begin with. We're dealing with colonialism here. How safe was a piece of Uganda to go in, and there's a native population there? Would the native population really accept these foreign Jews with open arms? Likely not. And would the British Empire really be able to enforce this safe haven? And as well, to abandon all hope of returning to Israel just doesn't make sense. And we think of this week's Torah portion, Ekev, which says that God is going to give us this land as sworn to our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And even the Haftarah mentions it. This is our land in perpetuity. It is the promised land, the place of our spirituality. And so, yes, we know the Shoah happened, and there was a lot of damage done, a lot of tragedy between 1903 and 1948. But we fulfilled our dream. I bring this up because, as I mentioned before, I went to Utah a little bit on a whim. My father used to go there a lot to the Western parks and just kept talking about it. And I never had a chance to go with him. And so it was kind of on my bucket list. I don't know if I liked it or not, but it was something that I needed to do, to go see the mountains out west. And if you know anything about Utah, remember when I love history, so when I go someplace new, I learn its history. The Mormons settled there. And I don't need to go through the whole history, but this was eventually the Mormons' Zion. They're Christian. They radically reinterpret the Bible anyway. So to say that there is a potential new Zion is not a foreign thing for them. And so they found their safe haven in Utah because it's gorgeous out there. The mountains are just beautiful. And so they created Zion Park, later on, but they created lots of names based on Israel. The river running through Salt Lake City is the Jordan River. It makes sense. And it is beautiful to go there. There was open sky. It looked like God's paint palette. The nooks and crannies called hoodoos. Just beautiful. Really to say, Ma Rabu Ma'asecha Adonai. How great are your works, God. But I had this notion, and that's why I brought up Uganda, that this was not Zion. This is not the Zion for the Jews. We are really grateful for the state of Israel for 76 years. But we also are global citizens. With that comes the responsibilities of being stewards of the environment and of the globe. But it also means, though, that Israelis and Jews, like all people, can travel the world to see God's entire creation in its entirety. And we know that Israelis do just that. They take their Tiyul Gadol, their big trip, often to Asia, Africa, South America, to sort of go and see what's beyond home before returning to home. When I was in Utah, it was during the Olympics, and it seemed like half of France came to Utah. Any hiker I passed, I heard a lot of French. But there was also a lot of Chinese and German and Italian, and recognizing that there are travelers going to see the world. And I actually did hear a little bit of Hebrew when I went to see Fiddler on the Roof in Park City, thinking I was the only Jew in the audience, and in front of me, I heard a family speaking Hebrew. But the trip really actually reminded me, or as during the trip I was watching TV, about Delta Airlines' current commercial, which reminds us that half of the journeys we take are journeys home. And they want to say that, they always make their planes at home, meaning that you already are home before you even arrived. So with that, I say, I enjoyed seeing Utah's grandeur. It was nice, though, to return to sea level that my lungs enjoy. It took about a week to really feel adjusted to the high altitude, though you get to it. And yes, Utah might look like Israel in August. Just the desert landscape reminds me a lot about Israel. Come January, Utah is not the promised land in the Torah with all of the snow that's there and the place where Jews have lived for millennia. Really, only Israel is Zion. It's our home, our Jerusalem. And so we are so pleased that while we can travel and go and see and learn and hopefully bring peace, we also need to return home. The moment for us here in Great Neck, but really for all Jews to go back and to support the land and the state of Israel. Shabbat Shalom.